Hello guys, welcome back. So let's quickly finish the merge sort implementation which we have done partially in the previous video. If you haven't watched the previous video, then make sure to watch the previous video because this video is the continuation of the previous video, right? So in the previous video, we have implemented this merge array, right? So what basically this merge array function will do, it will basically take two array, it will sort them and it will merge those two arrays, right? This is what this function does. Okay, so now in this video we are going to implement a function where we have to pass an unsorted array. Okay, and then we have to split that unsorted array into the half until we get the individual element in an array or empty array, right? So after implementing that, what we have to do, we simply have to call this merge array function. Okay, and this is how the merge sort works, right? We have to split the array in half first, and then after splitting the array into the half, if once we get the individual elements in separate sub arrays, then only we are going to merge them, right? We are going to sort them and we are going to merge them. Okay, so let's quickly start implementing it. And by the way, if you haven't this code yet, then make sure go into the previous video and get this snippet from the description of the previous video, right? Okay, so let's continue. So for that, I'll simply create a merge sort function, merge sort, and this time I'm going to use recursion. Okay, so make sure you have watched the recursion video as well, otherwise you will not understand what I have wrote here, right? So here let's handle the base case first, so which is if array dot length is smaller than or equals to 1, then in that case what we have to do, we have to simply return the array, right? Because once we start splitting it into the half, we will reach the point where we will get the individual elements, right? Now if you remember the divide and conquer, right, there what we used to do, we used to pick a midpoint, right? That is what we are going to do here as well. Okay, so let's create a midpoint, or let's keep it midpoint sounds a little bit weird, right? So in mid, what we have to do, we have to pass array dot length divided by 2. We have to split the array in half. So let's say we have an array of 2 3 4 5. Okay, so we have an array of 4 elements. Then if we divide it by 2, then okay, we have to use length, right? So if we divide it by 2, then it's fine, right? But what if we had even odd numbers? Then it will give us 2.5, right? And that is what we don't want. So we have to floor it, right? Math dot floor. Okay, so after dividing it, earlier we were getting 2.5, now we have floored it down to 2, as you can see here, right? Now that is what we are going to do here. Let's just copy the same thing. I think I have done the implementation already, so let's just copy this thing. Okay, because this thing is already there, right? So here I just have to add the parenthesis, and that is fine. So we got a midpoint. Now what about the left and the right? So for the left and right, what we can do, see, we can simply use the slice method, right? In array we can use a slice, okay, because slice gives you the copy of an array, right? So let's quickly create left and right. So left array is going to be array dot slice. Here what we have to do, we have to pass the 0 and then the mid position. Okay, and then for right, what we have to do, so here in right, what we have to do, we just have to pass the mid element. Now what does this mean? Okay, so here what we are doing, we are basically splitting an array into the half. We are splitting an array from 0th index to the midpoint, which was 2, and in slice it will not consider the second index, right, the element which is at 2 index. This is because of slice method, right? It only works till the last element minus 1, right? Last element's index minus 1. Okay, and then what we are doing here, we are telling this array I want from a piece of your array from the midpoint till the rest of the elements. Okay, now if I show you here, let's say we have an element, an array of 4 elements, right, or an array of 5 elements. Let AR, okay, let me stretch it a little bit so you guys can see clearly. Okay, so we have an array of 5 elements, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, now what I want to get a mid of first half of this array. So for that, array dot slice, and then okay, it's array, it's I think something else coming from this code, and I don't want that, right? So here I want to get the first half of this array, basically these two elements. Okay, so for that, what I'll do, 0 comma, the midpoint will be, I think for this odd numbers it will be 2.5, but we are going to get 2, right? So as you can see, as soon as I pass 2, the second index is this one, this fourth element, right? But what it is doing, it is giving me the last index minus 1, the end index minus 1, basically these two elements. This is basic slice functionality, right? So there's nothing to get surprised with this now. Okay, so now I want to get this piece of code as well, right? So how I can get that? I simply have to pass the midpoint, and then I'm telling JavaScript, I'm telling this array I want from this element till the rest of the array, right? So here we will get 4, 5, 6 till the end of the array. Okay, so this is how we are going to get first half and second half. Okay, so this is about let me clear it. Right, so this is about splitting an array into the half, right? We will get first half and second half. But what about, like, we have to keep it splitting, right? So for that, what we can do, see here, the simple solution is to use recursion. We can simply call this function again with these arrays, right? So here, if we are getting an array which have 2 elements, then again it is going to go through this, it is going to pick a midpoint, it is going to split it into the half, like into the left and right, right? So let's use it here as well. Okay, so this way we made this function recursive. Okay, so now every time we are going to get left and right. Okay, so left here, I think we are going to get lots of console, so don't worry. Left and right here, right here, and here I have to pass right, or I think I have to return at the end, right? Let's see if I have to return or not. So let's just keep it commented, otherwise let's see if it creates any problem, then we'll simply refresh, reload the window, right? So that's not a problem at all. So here let's just pass this, and then just see I'm going to get, okay, midpoint also, let's quickly add it here. Okay, so midpoint and then left and right, or let's add midpoint right after we are getting the midpoint. Okay, and then once we are getting the left, we have to console it right after that, right? And then once we are getting right, we have to console it right after that. Okay, so it's mid here, and then we are passing mid. Okay, so now let's quickly call it mid, and then I think AR was the variable which I have created, not sure. Okay, now let's see how it goes. AR is not defined, that's fine. Let's define AR then. Okay, so this is our AR, and then let's quickly call this function with the AR. Okay, so 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Let's see how it goes. Okay, so we have bunch of consoles. See, the midpoint for the first iteration is 2 here. Okay, and then again it went inside the callback function where the midpoint is 1. Okay, and then in the left we are getting one element which is 2, and then in the right array we are getting 3. Okay, so this is basically what happened here. It took from this array, it took the first half which is 2 and 3, and then again it went inside that function, it took the first half as 2 and then second half as 3. Okay, and then after that I think it went inside the, okay, so left and right are 2 and 3, right? Now again it went inside the function, and then the mid here is 1, left here is 4, mid here is 1, left here is 5 and 6. So now this time it went inside this one, and then the left we are getting as 5 and then 6. Okay, so this is how basically it is working. Okay, I know it sounds a little bit confusing, but we are going to see. I'll basically explain you out, guys, don't worry, right? So how it is working. Now the end part which is left here is to sort them. So right now what we are doing, we are splitting the array into the half, into the individual elements every time, right? So we are getting the left and we are getting the right. Now we have to merge them back, right? So for that we simply have to return, we simply have to call this function. Okay, so we already have merged like left and right array, right? So left and right, so we simply have to pass this left and right array here, and then we are done with the merge sort. Okay, so that is why I was telling you like to make sure you have watched the recursion video, because as you can see here we are using recursion and divide and conqueror at the same time. Okay, we are dividing it and then we are conquering it. Okay, so that is why like design patterns are also important. Okay, so now let's quickly test whether the array is working or not. So for that, let's use an example from previous video. This one I'm going to use, right? So this is our code. Let's quickly log it out here, and then we have to pass it inside the merge array. Oh, sorry, not merge array, merge sort, right? Merge sort function. Okay. So as soon as I call it, syntax error unexpected token, I think I've done something wrong here, which is obviously I have to pass the parenthesis here. Okay, so now as soon as I call it, as you can see, we are getting a sorted array 4, 9, 32, 34, 54, 65, 45, 67, 676 or whatever, right? So that means our merge sort function is working fine. So now let me explain you again what happened here. Okay, so for that I have to remove the autosave mode. Okay, I'll take this array here. Now I'll simply explain you what happened here. So in this one, it went inside this particular code and then it took the middle of this. Okay, so let's say 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, so 4.5, that means it took the middle element as 4. So mid will be 4, right? So 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. That means this is a midpoint. Okay, and then what happened? In the left half, we got this array. I think from here till here. Okay, and then in the second half, or let's say left, we got this array, and then right we got this array from this number till here, right? So this happened because of this slice. Now again what we are doing, we are again calling the merge sort function, right? So now what will happen, let's just keep it here itself. Okay, this is a later step because it will keep on running here, right? So let's see why. So here again we are calling the merge sort. So again we have an array. So what will happen, again it will go through these steps. It will pick the left element and then the right element. Okay, so we will take the midpoint 0, 1, 2, 3. So we have 4 elements, so the midpoint will be is going to be 2, right? So left is going to be this particular part. Okay, and then right is going to be this particular part, right? Okay, now this is a left portion. We are considering left Okay, because this function will keep on getting called, right? So we have to worry about this function first. So if you understand like how this function is working, you will get the answer like how this one will work, because these are the same things only, right? Okay, so now again we have left and right. Okay, so what we are doing, we are again calling the merge sort. Okay, that means here we are again calling it. Okay, so now what will happen? Mid is going to be 0 1, right? 0 and 1. So if we divide it by 2, I think we are going to get 1 or something. I'm not sure, or let's just see quickly. Okay, so here dot length divided by 2. Okay, we are going to get 1. Okay, so now what will happen? Let me just clear it. So now what will happen? In the first array, we will get this particular element, and then in the second array, we will get this particular element. Okay, so now left is going to be 34, right? 34, and right is going to be what to say, 54. Now how we are getting right every time? Okay, how we will get right? See, it have reached the end of the array where we are returning the element if the length is smaller than or equals to 1, right? So if it reaches this particular part, that means we are returning that element now, right? Now we are returning the array, right? So that means this particular function, this whole function is going to return an array which have this element right now. Okay, left. Okay, so that means in merge sort, this particular thing will return, what was that number? 34. Okay, 34. Okay, so we will get 34 in the left. It will get stored in left. Then only it will move on to the next line of the code, right? Now only we are going to get the uh, right element. Okay, so in the right, it is going to return 54. This is because we are returning, if we are getting the array dot length is 1 or smaller than 1. Okay, then only we are going to return something. Okay, so now in right, this particular merge sort function will return this 54. Okay, now what will happen? We have left and right. Again, it will move on to the next line where we are basically merging. We are sorting the elements and then we are merging them. Okay, now in the left we have 34 and then in right we have 54. So what will happen as the end result for this one? It will simply merge 34 and 54. Okay, so this is how it will work, and then once this is returned, again we are going to call this function, right? So this is how this merge sort function will work, right? So why this will be called again? Because we are calling the merge sort over and over again. We have already called multiple instances of merge sort. So we have called merge sort here, which will return something this. So we have reached to the bottom of the array. We have reached at the bottom of the functions, right? So if you remember, like in recursion, what happens? We call same function multiple times, right? And then it starts popping off the stack and we get the value of the previous function call, if you remember from the recursion video, right? And that is what will happen here. Okay, so this is the like a diagrammatic what to say, explanation. Now let me show you the same thing in the debugger console. Okay, so for that I simply have to comment this out here. Okay, and then I simply have to search this in the snippets, right? So I think this one is not required, or obviously you have to save it, right? Now let's quickly see in the sources tab. Okay, let me just remove it as an individual window. I hope you guys can see it. So let me stretch it a little bit. Okay, so this much will be fine, right? So now let me go to the very bottom. Where is my code? Okay, here we go. So what I will do, I'll simply add the debugging consoles in this merge array, in this midpoint, this left and right. Okay, and here also let's add it. Okay, so now let's quickly stretch this call stack. Do we need to stretch? Let's see. Okay, but this thing we have to stretch here so you guys can see it clearly. Okay, so now what I have to do, I simply have to reload this, right? Or I simply have to merge sort. I simply have to call this array with this sorry, let's call this with smaller like array, right? So that will be easier for us to understand actually. Okay, so now as soon as I call this, I hit enter. As you can see, it came here, right? So right now array we have 2 3 4 5. In array we have 2 3 4 5. Left is unavailable, mid is unavailable, right is unavailable. That is fine because we haven't executed these lines, right? Now it will go into the left, it will take the midpoint. So midpoint is going to be, let me collapse a little bit. Okay, so midpoint is going to be array dot length by 2, and then we are going to floor it. Simple maths. Okay, so midpoint we got 2. Okay, let's play it once more. Now it is going inside the left part. Okay, here you just have to pay attention. It will again call this merge sort, right? So what will happen? See, right now in the array we have 2 and 3 because we have splitted the array into the half here, right? And in the left we are taking the first half from 0 till midpoint. Now we have an array which have 2 and 3. So what will happen? This case is not satisfying. That means it will move on to the next line again, right? So it will move on to the next line. It will pick the midpoint. As you can see right now, the midpoint is 1. Okay. Left is unavailable, right is unavailable. That is totally fine. See, in the left, we are again calling that merge sort. So what happened? Again, it took the like first half of the array and then it called it with that, right? So now in the first half we have 2. So we again called merge sort with 2, right? So now what will happen? Since 2 is just one element in the array, so it will return that element. So now we are going to get some value in the left. Right now it is unavailable, right? Because we were not returning anything. Okay. So now this condition is satisfying. It will return left value, right? So as you can see in left, we are getting 2 here, right? Midpoint was 1. The array was 2 and 3. So we have split it 2 and 3 in half. The first half was 2. Since there was just one element in the array, so we have returned it. And since we have returned it from this particular function, the value will get stored in left. And that is how we are getting left here, right? Now what will happen? Since we already have the left value, it will move on to the right one. Okay, so in right again, same thing will happen. Okay, midpoint is 1, array is this, so it will take this element. Okay, so let's play it. Okay, so now here we have 3. Okay, which is also just single element, so it will return this and then we will get value for right variable, right? So now as you can see, we have midpoint, left and right, and the array was 2 and 3, which was basically the first half of the huge array, right? So from that we have left and right. So now we are going to call merge sort. Okay, so what this one will do, it one will basically merge those two elements, sort those two elements, and it will basically merge those two elements and it will return, right? So now we have first part of it sorted then. Okay, so yeah, now since we have called left multiple times and now left, we are getting the value in the left side. Okay, so in left, as you can see, we are getting 2 and 3, which is sorted and merged. That means we have sorted the first half of the huge array, right, already. Then we are returning it. That means after returning this one, we are going to get the final value in the left, right? So since we have the final value in the left, it will move on to the next line where it will call right. Okay, and in right we are calling the merge sort. So right now we have left and array value, right? In left we are getting the value, so it will keep on calling this right. It will keep on calling this merge sort in the right variable every time because it is going to get the value right now. Okay, so from midpoint till the second half, it is going to get every time, and then it will keep on returning it, and we are going to merge it every time. Okay, so yeah, now let's see quickly. In right, it will return something like, see, right now we are in first half, in second half. Okay, so we have picked the first half, we have sorted it, we have returned it. Right, now we are going into the second half. Okay, so whatever we have done for the first half, exact same thing is going to happen for the second half. Right, so because we this one was keep on executing, right? In the call stack, this one was keep on executing, as you can see. Now we are going to get the execution context for this right variable this time. Okay, so now let's see what happens. I have to play it, right? Okay, so we have this array, and then we will pick a midpoint, and then we will pick the left and right. I think it's array dot length is 1, so it is going to return. Okay, so array length is 1, so it is going to return this 4. Okay, so yeah, in left we got 4, and then in right we got these two elements. That is totally fine. Okay, so now in the array we are going to get 5 and 6. See, the same thing is happening here. Okay, and actually this time it is going to call multiple times. Okay, so let me quickly just play it a little bit faster. Okay, because this time it is gradually building the array, right? That is why we will get multiple calls here, so don't worry. And then at the end we got 2 3 4 5 6 sorted. So what happened, we passed the array. Okay, and then we split it into the half, and we are keep on calling the left side first. That means we are sorting the left side of the array first, and then it will move on to the next line. Once it gets all the values for the left side, it moves on to the next line. Here we are sorting the right side of the array, and then it will keep on splitting the arrays into the half. It will keep on finding the individual elements. If it will keep on merging them, it will return them, and then at the end we will end up getting the final array sorted. Right, so we are breaking an array into the halves, and then we are sorting them, and we are joining them back. This is what is happening here right now, and I hope I made this explanation crystal clear for you guys. Okay, by showing this debugger console and then the diagram which I have made in VS Code. We can't say that diagram, but I tried to explain it in the VS Code as well, right? So let me quickly disable it for now, because I don't want it to come through our way. Okay, so yeah, this is all about merge sort in a nutshell. So now there is left it to talk about the time complexity of merge sort. So that we will quickly discuss in the next video. So this is it for today. See you in the next one. And yeah, by the way, I'll attach this snippet in the description. So make sure to get it from the description. Okay, so yeah, this is it for today. See you in the next one.